We're up here for the press conference today to announce that you're stepping up in weight. Tell me about what challenges it's going to bring, going up in weight.
Yeah, I have a chance to become a two-weight world champion, which is absolutely phenomenal for me. It's history making for me, and I feel like I am definitely getting a bit stronger over these last few months as well. And Christina is a fantastic champion as well. This is a huge challenge for me, and yeah, I can't wait to show everything that I've been working on, I guess, over the last few months.
I just want to touch on some other parts of your story that some people may or may not be aware of. To begin with, when you were an amateur, as I understand it, you actually pretended that you were a boy in order to get some competitive action in. Why did you have to do that?
Yeah, I guess when I started fighting, there's no female boxer allowed even in Ireland at the time. So even to get any competition, any fights, I had to put the headgear on and just pretend I was a boy. I was known as Kay Taylor. So that story always comes up. I can't get away from that story, but here I am now, headlining a huge show, and the women's boxing has come a long way since then. It's been absolutely phenomenal, the support I've gotten over here in the UK over the last few years, and yeah, it's been amazing.
You mentioned how far the women's boxing come. How much responsibility do you take for raising the profile of women's boxing?
I think from the start, ever since I started boxing, I wanted to change people's perceptions of the sport, and I wanted to break down a lot of barriers and a lot of boundaries, and I think I've definitely done that. And I always had a dream of becoming an Olympic champion. That was even before women's boxing was in the Olympic Games, and thankfully I had a huge part to play in women's boxing, getting to the Olympic Games, and even since I've turned pro, I wanted to change people's perceptions of the sport, and I think I've had fantastic opportunities here to be involved in these huge shows, and it's definitely brought a lot of attention to female boxing, which is fantastic for the sport.
You touched on there that you had a major role to play in women's boxing going into the Olympics. As I understand it, you were in an amateur bout out in Chicago, and your performance was dependent on whether Olympic boxing would be included in the Games. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, that was probably one of the biggest pressure situations of my career. I mean, it was always a dream of mine to fight in the Olympic Games and to win a gold medal in the Olympic Games, and I was chosen to fight in front of the Olympic Committee, and I was told before the fight that this fight was going to determine whether women's boxing was going to be in the Olympic Games or not. So it was a huge fight, and thankfully everything went well, and they were impressed obviously with what they saw, and now here we are. Women's boxing is here to stay in the Olympic Games.
What do you think is the big? You mentioned there were a lot of barriers and things. What barriers do you think still exist now in 2019 in regards to women's boxing?
I think there's I guess we're still fighting for equal pay and stuff like that, but I'm definitely making a lot more money than what I thought I was going to make even when I started 3 years ago. So I think even in that respect, we're definitely breaking down walls and breaking down a lot of barriers, and yeah, I think it definitely has come a long way over the last few years, and the best is yet to come.
You've definitely yourself come a long way as well. Just out of interest, what advice would you give yourself on your debut? Now looking back in hindsight, what advice would you give yourself debuting from your experiences and things that you've learned?
Just go out and enjoy it, really, and I think I did do that on my debut. I definitely I was coming off a really tough year in the amateurs, actually making my debut. I didn't have a great year in 2016. I suffered a few really tough losses in the amateur game, and I decided to turn pro. This was a new challenge for me, and I knew this is where I was meant to be. This professional boxing, I think, is made for me, and I've always dreamt of boxing in front of thousands and thousands of people in these big stadiums, and so yeah, just go out and enjoy it, and then give it everything you have.
I know that you and Conor McGregor are good friends. What advice does Conor give you? Has he imparted any wisdom?
I mean, he's always about the money, Conor. So he's always telling me to kind of look after that side of things. And this is a short career, of course, and I have to make the most of it. And Conor's actually been very, very good to me over the last few years, and he's always been a gentleman to me. That's for sure. And I definitely appreciate all the advice that he has given me.
Is there anything in particular, apart from the commercial side of things, that he's sort of helped you with?
I can't really think, not really, to be honest. I mean, he's just been there to support me and to encourage me when I need it. And I fought in Boston a few months ago, and he was there to support me as well, which was, very, very cool of him.
Just finally, Katie, we're asking everyone today, what motivates you? When you have to get up and do your runs in the morning, when you have to take punches in sparring and go through these grueling camps, what is it that drives you?
I just want to make history in the sport. I want to be the best ever, and I just want to. I want to make history.
Katie Taylor, thank you for speaking to the Sportsman. Thanks.